What was different? 50?
If you're doing any kind of.
No, but that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What is the?
Well, the policy says $200 a day, but subs
Well, I mean,
are
do you
like
know about the
$300
tool
a
library,
day,
the
more.
class
If,
act?
if they work 3 days in a
They've
row.
got a BCS walking tractors with every implement you could ever desire.
When we're away?
Yeah. No, I didn't know. From haymaking
Because
to
somebody has to cover it.
plow
Even if you go on
to a
community
tiller that
business,
needs-
they give
like,
you
this tiller's
the
amazing.
time
You can
off
go through
without a
rocks
leave.
and just fix rocks.
But they don't pay yourself.
So that's through who?
No.
What if you just said, I'm not gonna pay us, that my classroom can just rain free for the day?
Yeah, exactly.
They need a mental health.
They have a project.
She was
Here,
here.
let me,
Project base.
write it down. You just go check.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. Need adoption, motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Spear, and seconded by Councillor Wallace. Unfinished business, street furniture for Columbia and Washington Street. Who would like to start the discussion?
Yeah, I wasn't here last time.
Councillor Wallace.
Where did we lose Councillor Moore to?
I don't know where she went.
Okay.
She's gone.
I'd like to start the discussion by asking for a response from staff regarding the discussion. I guess I started it around council, but just for a response from staff about the idea of putting it out to the community for some sort of a creative project. So,
For local contractors.
yeah, just that concept that was brought forward and what the response from staff would be.
Darren, did you hear that question?
Yep. You want me to?
Yeah, if you can answer, please.
So just to make council aware of what actually some of the furnishings are made from, the ones, and I'm talking specifically for ones that have been picked here in the tender documents that you guys have all got copies of. So I phoned MIA to start with, which is our insurer, and asked, do furnishings need to be made to CSA approval or ASTM, which is the American version of CSA, and they do not. But they said that you are also taking on risk by putting out anything such as any item that is not made to a standard. Slivers, things like that, kids particularly can pick up from skateboarding on them to, various other reasons why people can fall off with certain things. So with saying that, I phoned the companies that we've got prices from, and some things for council to consider are all the furnishings as far as the picnic tables, the benches. They come with a 25-year warranty on rotting, splitting, cracking, splintering, anything like that, which to Public Works is a huge benefit. I don't know, everybody knows of all the heritage benches that we have out there. They are extremely high in maintenance because they need to be stained every so often, every 2 years it seems now. So they do take a lot of time to upkeep them. So I'd like council to make sure that, you consider in your decision of, if you are considering something local, then we want to make sure that it is maintenance-free. They're also 10-year warranty against, the frames, the aluminum, the structural of them. And then, I don't know if you guys noticed the garbage can out here, the bear-proof garbage can. I brought down one here for council to have a look at in the foyer out there. And if you just look at the mechanisms that's involved in those, these people have been doing this for, I think it's 35 years or something like that. So they have a proven track record on the maintenance, on what works and what doesn't work. I think if we go to the local, we just got to be very careful of what we're asking them to build and making sure that it's there for the long term, not just for a short number of years. The other, I've heard at the council that we've talked about having maybe even just a couple of pieces made by local down in the Harry LaFleur Square would be an awesome spot, I think, with the where the rail car was going to go. I think if you guys wanted to showcase some local talent, I think that would be an excellent opportunity there. did walk through last week, and I find it, these things, most of them gotta go in and out every year. So you've gotta, unbolt them, bolt them, which is hard on tables if you're gonna get them locally made. I'm thinking if they were, made out of wood structure, I'm not sure what you're thinking of. But just being able to, the mobility of them, it has to be there, so. I'm happy to sit on a task force and discuss this, if that's what the council is willing to do. When I brought it up with the guys who do the installations in and out every year, they share the same opinion of, maintenance free, because they are very high in maintenance, and, from their perspective, of course, the installation of, spring and fall.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Hmm?
So what's the plan for the heritage benches? Will the heritage benches be replaced by some of these? Is
No.
that what the plan was?
No.
So the heritage benches stay where they are?
Yes.
That's it for now, thank you.
Okay, so, now how I envision this, I guess, I should explain. I mean, the garbage cans and the recycling bins, if, the city feels it's necessary to replace what we have, then, fine, that is not something that I was thinking we would contract out and have built locally, and so those ones aren't really the issue. Now, I think that this, 100+ K is an exorbitant amount of money to send out of the community when we do have expertise here in town, to make this. I mean, there's the idea of, okay, we make it, a showcase piece, an actual, where artisans can, showcase their creativity. There is that aspect that could potentially be a bonus, but I think, even without that aspect, just having these built in our community, I think it just makes a lot more sense to me to be able to keep that money in town. I do think that the issues brought up about, maintenance and warranty and durability, those are issues that can be dealt with nonetheless, even with using local people, because, they're professionals, they deal with those issues in what they do regularly. It's about the quality of the the quality of the wood, quality of the, the joints, and then it's the stuff that they deal with. So, I think another bonus is that they would actually be local, and so when an issue does arise, they're here to deal with it. So that could actually be perceived as a bonus, I think. We also have, what we have here is fairly, run-of-the-mill, more or less. I mean, there's nothing really particularly Roslyn screaming of what's being presented here. And I think if we did have somebody local doing it, we could even say, this is what we're considering here, please, come up with your version of this, so that we don't have to, if people are intimidated by the idea of, then how do we make the decision, and there's a whole gamut of things that could come back to us. Well, we could still set specifications of, here, this is what we're considering, please come back with your version of this. And so, if it's already been vetted through design boards or all these other things that we have, it just still takes care of that. It would still be within those parameters. So I would very much prefer still to put out an RFP to say, this is what we're considering. Can you please, give us a quote on what this would be. I do feel like it would be cheaper and better quality and nicer.
I'd like to
No, go ahead.
Councillor Spring, you're on the Streetscape Committee?
Yes, we've been a little idle for quite some time, yes, and we haven't had a meeting for...
No, when
A
you were
long time.
considering all this,
Mhm.
did you consider local products, or?
Well, you know, I'm of two minds, as usual. You know, I think the concept of having local artisan crafted work downtown is a great idea. I guess, you know, when you're looking at a scale of this size for this project, and timelines, again, but first of all, you know, the scale of this project, when I look at the amount of street furniture that we're actually going to put downtown, including the bike racks and everything, but the street furniture, the benches and that, you know, it makes sense to me that you would go kind of to, you know, the, you know, efficiencies around ordering them from companies such as this. I mean, it just makes sense that, and I don't know cost-wise what, I mean, has anyone talked to anyone? How much would one of these benches cost in relation to what the costs are? And I don't even know if the costs are on here for the individual items. I haven't seen them.
I've got them if you need them.
Yeah, so Darren, what would, say, one of these typical street benches cost? A bench A, for example, with the back. Do you know?
1,500, 1,600.
For one bench?
Yep,
$1,600
yep.
for one bench?
Mhm.
Oh. And what are the actual materials of that bench as far as the wood goes?
There's no wood in any
Oh, these
of
are
this.
plastic. This is
It's all recycled plastic,
Right.
which,
Yeah.
that's the 25-year warranty, right?
Right. Okay.
And that, in the charrettes,
Yeah.
the ones that I was involved in, that was spoken very highly of, not having, you know, something that's gonna not weather so well here.
Right. Yeah, because of, well, everything. I guess we take them out in the winter so they don't have to endure that. And then the benches are the same, correct? What would a picnic bench cost, or one of those picnic tables, table?
2,000.
Mhm. Okay. So I guess there's many aspects to this, and I mean, it is typical furniture. There's no question it's typical furniture, but the downtown core itself is not typical. It's unique to Rossland. It will be, and you know, is unique to Rossland, the design of it. You know, I'm favorable to some pieces that are unique and from local artisans, but I'm also favorable to making sure that we have a cohesive theme downtown, and that it looks as professional as the actual streetscape as it is sitting out there right now. So, you know, I wouldn't mind like 6 pieces that are unique or something, but as far as the whole scheme of things, I can't even see how we would technically, how that would work as far as timelines go. I mean, that would potentially take years, or at least a year, depending. Like, I think we need some kind of a report. Like, this is the 3rd time through, I think, on this exact conversation, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere, to be honest. I wasn't here last time, apologize, I was away in Vancouver. But we seem to be stuck on this, yes, we want, you know, some unique pieces, or some people might want the whole thing to be unique, but at the same time, I think we have to move forward on the streetscape, and as part of the streetscape committee that's a little bit idle, I feel strongly that we need to finish the downtown, and, you know, and not in a hurry, but this summer, for sure. So, you know, I'm in favor of some pieces that are unique to downtown, but I'm also in favor of this scheme that we've got here, because it's gone through all of the due process, other than maybe council coming up with a unique idea, which I think is good, but. You know, I'm not opposed to this streetscape furnishings, but I think it would be neat to have a few unique pieces. And I just have another question, if I could, Tim. Bike racks, seems to be an awful lot of bike racks, Darren. When I go through, and tell me if I'm wrong, there's more than 10 little bike racks.
There is,
10.
There are 10 rather.
there's 10 little ones.
Yeah.
5 large ones.
And 5 large ones, and I know people in town ride bikes a lot, including myself, but I don't see a lot of people uptown parking their, you know, $3,000+ bikes around town. So can you, if you could just tell us how we came to that number?
So, the final number that we came to with Stacy and I walking through, now that it's all put in,
Mhm.
Stacy being a person who rides a bike, I don't ride a bike, so
Yeah.
I don't, you know, so. And Stacy did agree that she thought maybe it might be a little bit excessive, but we just went through each location where she finds that people seem to take their bike and lean it up against buildings and trees and light poles and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, from an operational point of view, I would rather zero of them, right?
Yeah.
Because then that's how many we have to put in and out, but I
Mhm.
just Stacy, from her recommendation, that's where we came up with that.
Okay. And then are there 5 large bike racks as well?
Yes.
Okay. And how many bikes does the small bike rack hold again? Is it just?
2.
It's 2, 1 on each side, right? And then the other holds 4, does it?
No, it was more than that, I believe it was 6.
6, yeah. So 2 on the outside and then 4
2
central.
going each, coming in from each way,
Okay.
each side.
So if we found that we didn't need all of those bike racks, like over the next number of years, you could always store some of them and then, what's the lifespan of those things? Forever?
Well, yeah, they're
They're
powder
metal.
coated metal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, that's me for now, thanks.
Councilor Moore?
I'm sorry for coming in a little late. I was with Cecile and I thought she was coming to the meeting, but so this may have been answered before I came in. Is the mining cart still in the picture, or is the mining cart out? Because I didn't see it on the list of things. Is it still there?
It's still in my budget part.
And it's included in the
If you look on the
100,000?
list, It is in the Perry Field Square.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't know, was there a motion on the table?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make a motion, just for the conversation, right? And my motion will be that we accept the street furniture as it stands, except that we do an RFP for the ones, there are 3 benches that are outside Pro Hardware, Subway, and 2 more in Harry LaFave Square. So 5, take out 5 of the A benches and send them to an RFP to get something more unique, and then put everything else in. That's my motion.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't a very clear
I
motion.
need that a little clearer, please.
Okay, so my motion will be, we accept the street furniture as presented, except we remove 5 A benches, and they are the ones in front of Pro Hardware, Subway, Harry LaFave Square. And those, we would do an RFP to do something more, Ralston specific.
Is there a second?
I'll second to get it on the...
Councilor Moles?
Okay, do you have it, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Discussion.
my thinking about that is, I appreciate where staff's coming from, with what we've got here. Oh, wait a minute, I have to change something, but I'll say in a minute. I appreciate what they've done. I think there has been a lot of public input in this. I am disappointed that we didn't have this discussion about doing something unique, a year ago or 2 years ago, when we did. But I also agree with Councillor Spearn that we need to move forward and get our downtown furnished, because it looks great, but it's unfinished. But I also like the idea of having some unique pieces, and the spots that I've picked are very prominent spots. They're right at Harry LaFave Square, they're in the places right across Pro Hardware, they're right in the downtown, the very center of downtown. So I think they'd be good show places to try and get something a little more unique. So that's what I'm thinking. The other thing that I probably need to add to my motion is, I think we need more recycling bins, but maybe I'll put that second, because I did say put all the rest of it in, but we only have 2 recycling bins for the entire downtown core, and I just don't think that's enough. One of them is in front of Las Vegas, which has no food being served, whereas down by bus stops, where people getting on buses, they're going to have their pop cans, whatever. They should have recycling there. There should be more recycling in front of areas that actually have food service. So, Tracy, can I add that to my motion? Additional recycle bin?
Your worship, I would prefer that be a second.
Okay,
Second.
we can do it separate, just because my
At
first
this
one.
time, we're dealing with benches.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
And that would
okay.
be preferred, thank you.
Okay, just because I said accept it as is, and I don't really mean that. So take the, accept as is, accept the recycling, because I want to deal with recycling separate.
Just leave it, make another motion to add
Yeah, I
to
will.
that motion.
Yeah, okay. And I don't have anything else to say on that, too.
Councilor Fisher hasn't jumped in yet, doesn't want to.
Mr. Fisher.
So you, planners and engineers that plan this out after design charrettes and all the other things that we go through to get to this point, notwithstanding the possible need for more recycling areas, I would assume that the people that we hired and paid money to plan this out and design it and engineer it would have a number of recycled material pieces that would be required. I'm all for having more recycling bins, but maybe there's some stats and numbers behind it saying, town of this size, disperse it this way, all that stuff. And as for the bike racks, pedestrian-friendly, bike-friendly town that we're trying to make ourselves become, the number that is out on the table may be a number that is meant to encourage more cycling and more activity like that downtown. So I think that leaving them as is shows our welcoming attitude about cycling activity in our city. As for the Roslyn, I think you have to go back a little bit. There was a time when I had people coming up to me on the street saying, oh, I hate, just, what are we doing? The design of the town is terrible. It's not Roslyn. It's, it's big city. It's this, it's that. I stand out on the street now and I think, that's Roslyn. That looks great. And I've had a ton of people come up to me, even the ones that were naysayers, saying, oh, well, good job. It really looks great. It's got a good feel. I like the wide street. Or the wide sidewalk. So the trepidation from some folks, and also maybe on council, some people, regarding the furniture and things, is that changing something causes anxiety and potentially potentially losing the feel of downtown. But I would challenge anyone to go out and say that Roslyn's lost its feel, its genuineness. I think it's still genuine. I think it's more genuine, and it's actually accentuated with what we've done downtown. I think that the choice by the Design Review Committee with the support of the design charrettes are good ones. If anything, if people find the ore car so egregious that we dump the ore car out and have at least one piece that we have local artisan flair. Just remember, our character is built on that old Bank of Montreal building and the post office building and the heritage buildings that we have in town. Our uniqueness, proximity of where we are in the mountains, also adds to that. It's not about whether we have a bike rack that's unique. Maybe they will. I might be wrong, but I think we're beating this one up really well. And it's not that I don't support the motion. I don't mind the motion. Have a few benches that are different, that are built locally. But I don't see them being a game changer to creating that level of uniqueness that I hear in the room, if you know what I mean. So I would say, I look at everybody has their little the thing that they pick on and look at, right? So mine might be the ore car. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Go down to Pistack and grab one of his and powder coat it. He's got 20
Not enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he'd be thrilled to do something with one of those things. But no, but the point is to go out to RFP, to redesign, to redo stuff. You got volunteers on these committees and people that sat in all these meetings. I don't think it serves the public well when we do stuff like that. I think we have to listen to what has been put on paper, like the OCP, and Mike Matura, our planner, has said over and over and over again in the OCP regarding pedestrian friendly. So having some additional bike racks, yeah, okay, maybe there are too many today. But let's look 5 years down the road when we have a giant mountain bike festival downtown and every bike rack is full. That should be our vision. Our vision should be bigger than what it is. That's all I'm saying. So I'll vote against it.
Councillor Blue.
Okay, so I will not support this motion. My main purpose being here today in this discussion is what I, it's a direct conversation in such a way that we can keep this money in town. My main goal is to keep this money in town and give somebody local the job, the purpose of you know, the money to put these together. And ultimately, I don't care what it looks like in the end. I don't care where the things are placed. I don't care how many of each item there is. It's just $100,000 is a lot of money to put out of the community when it could stay in the community. In fact, the number, I think, that we have, isn't it, it doesn't even include installation and whatnot. So, you know, I really want to see somebody, a local carpenter, who, or artisan, or whoever, metalworker, it just doesn't matter, somebody local being tasked with putting this together within the parameters that they're given, and give us whatever they can give. This is something, I've talked to a few people who do such work, local carpenters in the community, and they say, yes, it's very doable, and it's very doable for less money than we're presenting here. So that's, I won't support this motion because a few unique pieces, that it, to me, is not the goal. The goal is to keep the money in town, and it's $100.
Councillor Waltz.
Okay, well, you know, I want to say that I do regret that council didn't start this conversation about a year and a half ago. But I do tend to feel very much, as Councillor Blooming has expressed, it would be nice to at least be able to keep some of these funds within the local economy. So maybe a way of getting at this and actually progressing is to look at the low-hanging fruit, what's easy. So maybe we move away from the current motion and we start with garbage and recycle. Are we all in favor of that? Because that isn't something that I see being tendered locally. You know, that's a mechanism, et cetera, for bear proofing that I don't expect anyone in the local area to have that kind of expertise. So maybe it's something as simple as that. I mean, I would like to talk about the where the design for Harry Lefebvre Square came from. I don't really know where it came from. There's the York cart. And, you know, in my opinion, and some other people that I've been showing these drawings to, the Harry Lefebvre Square space, I would say it's pretty prime real estate. You know, most of the time it's sitting there empty or sparsely used, but when we have a community event downtown and we're using Harry Lefebvre for the gathering spot, I'm not sure that having a mining cart and a big bike rack sitting right in the middle of the square is the best use of space. So that's something else I'd like to get at. But, you know, if we can try to find a way of working at this rather systematically and figuring out how to proceed. I mean, I'm certainly in support of going forward with the garbage cans, the recycle cans. I would like an explanation of why we have 15 garbage cans and 2 recycle cans. So if I can ask that question.
We actually have 3 recycling cans. There's going to be one at Las Vegas, there's going to be one at the post office, and then one in the Harry Lefebvre Square. Now, talking to the guys who do the garbages downtown, this is where we came up with the locations. I know Councillor Moore indicated the bus stops, but we don't seem to get a lot of cans left around and bottles left around those areas. So we're trying to place them for example, Charlie's store down there, Rossman Grocery, there's a lot of bottles and cans that come out of there, and they seem to migrate, you know, towards the bank, so that's why we put one there. Harry LaFay Square, that is the gathering for, you know, the younger kids at night, so we're hoping that'll get utilized. And then we did put one over by the post office because we don't have one on that side, and we got Ronnie's store over here, we're hoping, and, you know, Bear Country Kitchen and whatnot, hoping that they migrate that way. The garbage cans, unfortunately, garbage cans, there's probably a half a dozen that get used lots. And unfortunately, when I say they get used lots, it's a lot of household garbage. It's not people throwing their, you know, their paper, chocolate bar wrapper in or anything like that. It is people stuffing their garbage. So the locations, we went through with, asked the guys who clean up, saying where do we need garbage cans, and those are locations that seem to, not only in the shred from ISL, you know, as far as aesthetics and whatnot, but also the everyday guy going down there and cleaning up.
Your worship, I don't know if council wants to look at those garbage cans, but it's going to be really difficult to get your domestic garbage into those garbage cans now, because they're almost like a, mailbox.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
it'll
it'll
be
make it a lot harder.
very difficult to put a bag of garbage in there.
Can I follow up?
So,
So does that explain the staff's preference to go to the new ones? You think that they will be better to discourage that kind of abuse of the garbage, of the public garbage cans?
They're also wildlife, approved.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody looked at those garbage cans, they're not 100% perfect for our application. I don't know if you looked, but they got a lever down at the bottom, a foot lever,
Yeah.
which I'm quite worried that the snow's gonna get in there and cause issues with the mechanism. So, still working with the supplier to see if there's another alternative.
So we put levers to lift the lid off when we need to empty it? What's the
No,
purpose?
it's for when you drop your garbage in, you push the lever,
Oh,
it
yeah.
opens up, opens out.
Okay,
You drop your garbage in and then it closes back up.
right.
Your worship, we could take a short break and go and look at it.
has everybody seen where we like
No,
that?
I haven't seen
didn't
it.
actually see it once, and I'd like to see it, but we
Yeah.
can do it.
Councillor Fisher, we go to then we'll have a look at these garbage cans?
No, I don't. I think that there's a motion out there, and I kinda screwed it up by just blathering on about nothing, but there's a motion on the table
Yeah.
regarding specifically benches, and we've been talking about everything else but, so I think we have to deal with this before we do anything else.
See, I'd just like to, you know, I don't, you know, the amount of work and effort that's gone into this streetscape over the last, I guess, 3 years. You know, as Councillor Fisher also said, all the professionals have been involved, the staff's been involved. This recycled material, which I think is very important to Roslyn. The way we're going, I don't think we're gonna get anything downtown this year. The way, the time's running short. I don't have any problem with that furnishing as it is with the streetscape. The only thing I'd like to see myself is Harry LaFay Square become more of an art, local flavor area where we could totally do Harry LaFay Square with local artists, you know, Roslyn artists or tradespeople or whatever. The rest of it, I don't have any problem with it. So, I think if we went with Councillor Moore's motion, you know, changing the ones in front of the old hardware store in front of Subway, it would mix, you'd have too much of a contrast between the new stuff or the local stuff and this other stuff. So I think if we could keep maybe the main street with this type of furnishing and then just have Harry LaFay Square, local flavor, I think that would be, it would showcase the local talent. So, that, Councillor Spirit.
Yeah, so as far as the costs go, and Councillor Bloomy's suggestion that through conversation with some people that she knows, that the cost could be much less, I think Darren has emphasized that the life of these pieces of furniture for the cost is a significant part of why we're spending the money on this type of furniture for an alpine community. community, and the wear that they are going to endure, hopefully, and the guarantee around that, the warranty, et cetera, is going to stand us in good stead for a long time. Like 25 years is a long period of time. 2.5 decades. So, whereas you're going to have some local crafted pieces that, I'm envisioning wood. I don't know if you're envisioning something different, wood and metal combination perhaps. But, I'm stuck on this because, this was, prepared for us professionally. Yes, we should have maybe had some input to it and maybe the process, but we've had lots of opportunities to have, to have conversations about it through charrette, et cetera. And this, I went to all those charrettes and looked at it and thought it looked great, actually. And so having said that, the cost and this cost savings, that's not equating in my mind because of the guarantee around this kind of material versus wood that maybe lasts as long, I don't know, but I don't know the qualities of that wood, or the endurance of that wood. I know that wood in Rawson doesn't last all that long when it's certainly left out in the winter. And as far as the positioning, Councillor Moore's suggestion about the ex-hardware store, which is an empty building, and the Subway, and then Harry Lefebvre, like kind of a pod down at this end of town and nothing at that end of town, I don't know if that kind of asymmetrical approach to it doesn't really make sense to me. Kind of a balance would suit my brain more if you're going to do that. So I don't know, maybe we should just go with a couple of things in Harry Lefebvre. What is in Harry Lefebvre again as far as the benches?
You have the last page.
The two
Jill.
picnic tables?
Jill,
Oh, the last
page, the last
thing. Right. Okay, so the picnic table, the bike racks, the ore cart, the garbage and recycling. So those two picnic tables would really be the only two things. Benches. So 2 benches and 2 picnic tables. That's significant.
And probably replace that mining cart. Then more likely replacing the mining cart.
Right, but that's for discussion, right?
Yeah.
Because the motion right now includes the mining cart.
No.
No, not yet.
Didn't address the money card.
No.
No, but you said leave it as it
Oh,
is,
leave it,
other
leave it.
than
Yeah,
those
the only
pieces.
thing I was talking about, 5 benches.
Yeah.
Is all I was talking about.
So 5 benches being just not the picnic tables, just
No,
the
I
benches?
didn't- I
Oh,
didn't.
okay,
My motion was just 5 benches.
right. Can you could you explain why those locations, like the
Yeah.
hardware store that's not
Yeah.
there? And
Well, there's going to be something there.
There will be, hopefully.
Space. We're going to have broadband, and we're going to have lots of new businesses. In answer to the acting mayor's comments, the 2 benches are there near the street, and the other items in front of the Subway and across on the old hardware site, that's a cluster, a sort of a downtown cluster where I thought, as opposed to having them scattered sort of randomly, there would be sort of this cluster of sort of more artistic things, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I selected those, plus they are in notable places. So to me, that made sense, to cluster them as opposed to make them random.
Mhm.
And it made sense. The other thing I was thinking about, which now has just completely gone out of my head, I'm sorry. I had another point now. Part of this was my effort at a compromise, because as others have said here, I do wish we'd had this conversation earlier. I do think the train is out of the station. We need to go forward and get this furniture in. But this was a compromise because we would give, whatever this ends up being, close to $10,000 or something, to local artisans to come up with something. I would not want wood unless we could be guaranteed that someone's going to promise it lasts 25 years. I'm thinking it's got to be something more like metal or something that's going to last, and that would be in the RFP. We'd have to specify that it's not just put up a wood bench that's going to decay in 5 years or something. So we'd have to be really specific about that. But it was a bit of a compromise. I think honestly it's too late to go and redo everything, but to have a few pieces that are unique would be great and keep some money in the local economy. But then everything else goes.
Mhm.
Councillor Fisher?
Make one other comment. It sort of bounces around the edges, but the fear of spending money outside of the area. it's part of a purchasing policy rather than a discussion on a specific project, in my mind. And this council and others like it, that have sat here in Roslyn, haven't had any kind of, local preference. I mean, we hired a company from Nanaimo to do the street, right? And other projects that we've done, we've hired engineers from Kelowna, planners from Kamloops. And so all that money's gone out, literally millions of dollars. So I find it a gesture. While I applaud it, I still find it a gesture that we'd be looking to spend money locally, unless we're looking at changing our purchasing policy to have local preference, which then when you open it up under the MMCD, you get yourself in the glue also. So, I mean, I don't see that looking at it from that point of view is necessarily valid. Not that it's an invalid thought, but it doesn't work from where we sit when we go to let these contracts out. The other part of it is that I think that it's our responsibility to be looking down the road as far as we can and keeping these things within a certain vein, that the councils that sat before us set the direction. So the council that's sitting at this table, I don't particularly think that we need to be looking back saying, oh, we should have been part of the we were. This council was part of the process. It set up the people that sat on the design review committee. It hired the people that coordinated the design charrette. It was. So to actually be in there means now that we're looking back on it, we're micromanaging it, saying, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that, and then we're picking and choosing the things we like. I think that's bad policy, that's bad governance. That's just my opinion.
Councillor Spring?
Well, I hate to agree. I only hate to agree not because of Councillor Fisher, but I hate to agree because he's right. And I'm just kidding. We are in committee of the whole. And you're absolutely right. And you said it more eloquently than I was going to say it, in that it's not our job to manage the artisans of our community through this discussion of this project. It is through the higher level policy making, and I totally agree with that. And to go back and to fuss around with this, I know it drives staff mad, and it starts to drive us into all kinds of directions where we're freewheeling. And frankly, there's times to freewheel. This is not a time to freewheel. So my position on it is a couple of benches. Now I'm saying, the Harry Lefebvre, maybe a couple of benches, or not, of local artisans. But as far as the whole project goes, no, we need to move forward. We've made this, we've done this. It's our job as City Council to keep moving forward. And it's exactly the same as when we had the big conversation about parking and parallel parking, and we were all over the map on that, which was okay. It was good discussion. And we ended up, staying with what we've got, and probably we shouldn't have, but however, because that wasn't in the plan. It's a tough one, and I don't disagree that we should be supporting local economy. That's great, but I don't think this is the time at this point in this project to be freewheeling and changing things. So, and I wanted to ask one more question, being as one committee of the whole. When I was downtown on the weekend and came out of the chiller beer wine store there, before I went, I looked down and I looked at the garden, and of course I counted 15 cigarette butts. 15 in that little space there. So I took it upon myself to go in when I went in, and I asked the gal who works there, and I just said to her, what do you think, right? And she said they used to have a bucket of sand outside there. And they had a bucket of sand out there, and people would get out of, she said, people would get out of their car and put their butt in the sand bucket. So I said to her, well, do you think that we need you know, an ashtray there, like an ashtray that fits into the streetscape, not a plastic bucket full of sand, because to me that's, you know, it's pretty contrary to this beautiful streetscape. And she says, well, I can put the bucket of sand out again. And I said, no, I explained who I was and just said that I wanted more input about the cigarette butt thing because it was awful. And we just had the smoking downtown conversation, which didn't go anywhere. So I think we need to talk about it. And I think we need to decide, are we going to, and I know, for me personally, I don't want any ashtrays downtown. But for our community and the look of our community and the millions of dollars project downtown, and I saw Ferraro's had a plastic kind of thing outside, like right outside the doors. It was this big plastic ashtray thing. I don't know if Darren knows anything about it. And it was tacky and it was ugly, but you know what? They were concerned about cigarette butts, so, you know, power to them. So could we, through you, Worship, to Darren, maybe just get a little bit of input or some feedback about that?
Yeah, I think we should. We
Oh,
got a motion
I'm sorry,
we got a motion
we're
on
off the
table now.
motion, sorry. It's all
Further
right.
discussion, if not, I'm gonna call a question.
Okay, can you read the motion?
Yes, and please correct me if I haven't got that right. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Wallace. Resolved that the committee of the whole recommend to council that the street furniture plan be accepted with the exception of 5 Type A benches at the locations of Pearl Harbor, Subway, and Harry Lefebvre Square, and that the city issue a request for proposals for those benches in order to attract local artisans.
Quick, I'll be really quick. Beyond
Okay.
quick. No, I just want to explain that I will be voting against this motion, because I don't think those are the elements that I would pull out if I was going to pull something out, and it does say in the motion everything else other than that. So, that's enough for now. I won't be voting in favor of this motion.
Okay. Question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion defeated. Any other motions? Councilor Wallace.
Okay, how do I phrase this? That council reconsider or review the furniture elements within Harry Lefebvre Square. Is that a motion? Or how about this? I'll make it even more specific. That council remove the mining cart from Harry Lefebvre Square, move the big bike rack out closer to the sidewalk, and remove the 2 A benches to be replaced by a local artisan's work. Is that good enough for you, Trace?
Your worship, could you please read that? You've got
Okay.
remove the mining cart.
Remove the mining cart. Move the big bike rack towards the sidewalk, closer to the sidewalk. And remove the 2 A benches to be replaced by a local artisan project.
Do we have a second?
Second for discussion. I have a question. Where did you want to move the big bike rack?
Well, just closer to the sidewalk. It seems really odd that it's sitting in the middle of the square.
It's not really
Well,
in the
that's the real
middle.
bump out, no, it's not, I mean, you think of the line.
It's not in the middle, right? It's
this way.
Yeah, 'cause it's Columbia, right?
Are you looking at the final
Here's
page?
Ferraro. The final page, I think, yeah.
Okay, I'll show you. There's Columbia Ave. You have the bike rack sitting in the middle of the side of the square here. This is the alley going down. I'm right here, right?
It's on the edge.
So why is it not closer to the sidewalk?
Well, there's
Because to
plans.
me, this is
Yeah,
what I
right.
mentioned earlier about Harry Lefebvre Square. When we have a function in there, and we have a lot of the community in there, then we have a bike rack taking up an area here the size of a picnic bench, and we have a mining cart taking up the area here again. Like if you look at the way that the flow is in there, I just don't understand why you have those 2 items sitting in the middle of the square. Because they don't seem, it seems like prime real estate right there. And the function of those doesn't need to be in the middle of the square. So I don't know where this design came from. But, I mean, to me, the mining cart, and I'd like an authentic one out of somebody's backyard, thing to buy, would look better out here in front of City Hall. That's just where I'm coming from. And these two benches, I mean, maybe that's the opportunity for the local artisan contributions.
Councillor
Can I
Moore.
just say something for, the rails are already there for the mining cars. When you say you wanna
Yeah.
remove it, the rails are already. Yes. And I'm not sure whether council knows what the mining cart is. It's actually, it's not really a mining cart. Why they call it, it's just a flat deck, table for kids to get up on, play around,
Sit.
sit, eat. So it's basically just a big seating area.
So it could have a function to it.
So it does have a
Totally,
function. That's
it's
the whole
flat.
purpose of it.
It's not a cart, huh?
Yeah.
You remember seeing it?
No.
Yeah, it was flat. It's big and it's flat, it's great, it's a platform to sit on and jump on or whatever on,
Yeah, it's
probably
not
skateboard.
a mining cart.
No, it's not in one of those old things
Yeah.
that I'm totally opposed to having downtown.
Question over to staff also, and the bike rack, the way I'm seeing this bike rack is it's up against the landscape portion there,
Mhm.
right? It's
It
at
is.
the edge of the paved part, but it abuts the landscape
It does,
part with
and
the boulders.
because you gotta get bikes in from both sides, that's
Yeah.
why we had to pull it out, so
Yeah.
that there's room to come in from the softscape as well as from the other side, from the hardscape.
Yeah. So in keeping with the conversation, I second the motion to get the discussion out there, but I'm actually not in support of it. I don't have a problem with those things, although I did like the idea of the benches being more, something different, but I'm not supportive of the whole thing.
So are you also talking about keeping the rest of the furniture the same, going for the rest of the streetscape?
Well, yeah, the rest of it is the picnic tables. I like them going.
I mean, for the rest of the Columbia Avenue.
Downtown.
We were just talking about,
You know, I am reaching that point in the discussion. I think we're kind of a little bit too little, too late. And certainly the discussion about the warranty, the safety approvals, risk management, all of the rest of it, I mean, it makes very good sense. So, there you go.
are you gonna add that to the motion, or get any motion to that, or, because you just had the fairly
No.
basically, okay.
No, I'll leave the motion as
Okay.
it is, and we'll see what happens.
Councillor Spirit?
Mhm. Yeah, no, and, the whole mining cart, I like it, and, I thought it was cool, it was modern, it's flat, it has a sense of history, but it's not one of those ones from out at Pistax, and no offense to Mike, because I like riding my bike by and seeing his museum there. But really, when we put that mining cart down underneath the sign, if you remember the new Rawson sign, and we stared, and we quickly went, no, get that out of there, right, poor Darren. Because it doesn't go with the scheme and the design, right? Like, we're trying to modernize whilst keeping our historic, sense of who we are in Rawson, which I think it's a good mix. So, I don't have a problem with maybe those two benches being, we're getting down now, we're whittling away to two benches, right? Is it really worth it for two benches? But I like the bike rack, I like the mining cart, I like the rest of Harry LaFave. So I'll vote against the motion because of that, but maybe we'll put another one on, for the benches.
Councillor Bloom?
Okay, so I disagree that it would need to take a lot of time to have somebody local to do this, these people work quickly. Also, as far as if we're paying, a super huge premium for this 25-year warranty, when, what are the chances we're going to, get $40,000 worth out of this warranty? I mean, basically, even if they come out being wood slats on metal, or just like the picture here, well, they're not wood, but they look like wood. Anyway, if they end up being true wood slats, well, something breaks, then you swap out for a new slat, and that's not something that's very expensive. So to justify, an incredible increase in cost by saying, but it's warranted, I just don't think that's necessary. And So anyway, I still remain on my, in my position of, I really do believe that to do this locally would not be complicated, would not cost a lot of money, and we could still deal with, you know, whatever parameters are necessary to handle it.
Further discussion? Call the question. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion defeated.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the streetscape plan as is.
I'll second.
Discussion. Counselor.
Can I ask a question? So, if we approve it now, when do will we have street furniture in this summer?
Some of the stuff is 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Some of the, very few of the furnishings are like 6 weeks away. So I would say we probably have 90% in by, probably by July 1st.
Mm-hmm. And the rest? Middle?
Yeah, middle of July.
Mm-hmm. So, by the time summer really starts? Mm-hmm.
Discussion with Councilor Fisher. Councilor Moore.
Your worship, I'm just wondering if at this time, if that is the resolution, if perhaps it should also include, that the plan be approved and that staff be approved to purchase the furniture, because we've not had that. That could be a second motion, I'm just wondering if that.
You can add it to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is still a recommendation to council.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Spring.
Yeah, so the ashtray thing, concept, I just wonder how,
Do you want to make it a second motion?
oh, yeah, sorry, well, yeah. I was thinking that if we wanted to add it in with an amendment, but we'll just, yeah, we'll talk about it after.
I did want to say one thing. I'm just curious what council's feelings are about additional recycling. Now now that Darren has said there's 3, and it was just listed 2 here, do we feel 3 is enough for this community that's supposed to be so green and progressive and we like our recycling? But,
I think my comment on that would be that staff could come back to council at any time after we get them out there and say, we need one more. Can we get one more?
And location.
And location, yeah.
Mhm.
That'd be my guess. Because I agree with you, I think we should be
yeah.
having what we need out there for recycling.
Yeah, I just think you end up with a lot of recyclables that end up in the trash. When there's no recycling available, it goes into the trash. And that's not the ones you're going to see set by the curbstone. Those are the ones that have gone into the trash, right, where if there was recycling more easily available.
Councilor Blooming.
Well, I was just gonna say that, you know, people are generally, especially in a town like ours, are generally motivated enough to walk half a block to get to the recycling bin. And, so I'd be much more in favor of just waiting to see if it becomes an issue, or, you know, just, we've had the staff recommendation, just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Through your worship, can I call you that?
Been called worse.
Staff, I'm just wondering if, will that be a possibility in the future? Say next year, if we decide we need 2 more recycle bins, do we have enough, I guess, does this company show enough longevity, or will that line still be available, that kind of thing, if you have any idea of that, or will it become next year, we want 3 more and they will no longer be available?
This company's been around for, I think it's 35 years, so that's one of the reasons why we've chosen them. So I would anticipate that, no, it should be no problem. That's the other reason is parts are available, on the shelf kind of thing for these as well.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Spirit.
Yeah, I do feel strongly, I mean, when people, I like to think that what Councillor Blooming says is right, that people are going to walk with their can for half a block and put it in. I'm sure there are some for sure. But, just when you think about the big picture and you've got a garbage can, you've got a recycling bin, people immediately look to the I hope they look to the recycling bin, look what they've got in their hand and go, can I? put it in the recycle. But if the recycling bin is not there and the garbage can's there, they go, well, no recycling bin, in it goes, right? And, you know, I've seen that many instances. But, I trust that, you know, this design, I don't know, I think there's a lot of garbage cans and not enough recycling. I agree with you. Or I agree with whomever. And so can we go ahead and, I'm just wondering, should we be pulling back on the number of garbage cans and having more recycling bins, you know, complementing those garbage cans? That's my question to staff, I guess.
Councillor Wallace.
Okay, so
That was
we
a
heard
question to
earlier
staff, though.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, we heard earlier that staff is still looking at these, but these may not be the final one because of concerns over the foot pedal and snow.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility of finding
Combo.
a combination, garbage can, recycle, and ashtray, all in one little unit, so that we have a number of those down the street, and then, you know, it's very clear to the public
Mm-hmm.
where things
You
are
know,
supposed to
that's,
go.
just looking today, actually, they do have combination ones, but they're not Bearware.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't asked the company if that's something they can swap in, you know, one of the normal trash cans for a Bearware one. It's a possibility that we could. So my thought is, if council, if it's possible to leave that open to our discretion, if I can fit in another recycling unit or something like that, and take out a garbage can, as long as I stay within, you know, the budget, would council be okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely like to see more recycling and leave it in your discretion to do it.
Councillor Fisher.
Unfortunately, I'm a bit of an expert in garbage and recycling.
Oh.
At the golf course, we have both, and by and large, people respect the recycle bins. And we've actually considered, and I think going forward, I think I talked about communication pieces before with us in terms of the type of town that we have. You're never going to stop that bad person from taking a hamburger and putting it in the recycling bin. They're going to do that, and the guys are going to have to pick through that stuff because we have to pick through it at the golf course. But by and large, 90% of the people use the recycling area and don't use the other. The thing that we were going to start doing on the course was ask people to bring their garbage in from the course rather than throw sandwiches into the things out on. So, I mean, in terms of our communication piece, I think there's something that if we leave the things the way they are now, but there's a little bit of a awareness around recycling. Hey, there's recycling bins in Rossland now, you know, then please use them only for recycling. You know, with people do, if you hit them enough with that communication message, if the press helps out a bit and gets that word out for us, that we keep an eye on it. But I guarantee you that our guys are still going to have to dig through the garbage and take bottles and cans out of the garbage and put it in recycling, and vice versa, put garbage in the garbage side. And I think since I do it actually myself, dig around the garbage for cans, I think we're kind of stuck with that. That's just part of what happens operationally. And I know that the guys already do. So do that, separate some of that recycling from the garbage. So I think if we monitor it and we see it and we add one later on, I think we're in good shape, or two or three or whatever the number needs to be.
Councillor Bloom.
In Banff, along that Main Street there, they have bear-proof bins that are recycling and garbage as one unit, and they don't have the foot pedals. They actually have, it's almost like a car door handles, and which is, you know, actually kind of gross too, but whatever, you deal with it, and it's like a mail, like a mailbox too, so probably similar to this one. But anyway, so such a thing does exist, and I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, that it does exist, I've seen it, but I don't know.
Yeah, there are hand-operated ones, and we're trying to stay away from that, you know, just because of, you know, obviously because of hygiene and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that I can agree with.
But not saying it's, you know, it can't be.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If the foot pedal, if we can't come up with a good solution with the snow of that, and maybe that's why Banff has got that tight as well.
Any further discussion? Question of the motion, all in favor? Motion passed.
Could I, ashtray? The ashtray thing.
Okay.
I wanna let that go, 'cause, yeah, I don't know if Darren has any suggestions around subtle, good-looking ashtray units that we could have strategically positioned, you know, the liquor outside, well, this store here, I mean, people go in, I don't know, I wouldn't mind just some conversation around, could we have 3 ashtrays downtown or something where there's solid, heavy things that people can't remove? I don't know if anyone has any suggestions, but I don't wanna see cigarette butts everywhere.
I agree. We've been finding at Harry LaFace Square, there's ash, you know, there's butts everywhere. If you look right outside the door here, we actually put, it's a silver one, but if we could get it in like in a powdered black, it's a tall, skinny, looking device
Cylinder,
that
yeah.
works for the cigarette butts. We also have one down at the Myers Hall. It's not near as aesthetically pleasing, you know, but yeah, there are options out there, and I would personally like to see one near the Harry LaFace Square, because it's gonna be a maintenance nightmare, you know.
So is one enough for there?
No, probably
2?
not. You probably need 20 downtown, but, because they're in the tree wells, they're, you know, and it's, yeah, it's a bit of a maintenance.
Okay, I'll make a motion then. So, I'll make a motion that staff, you know, looks into purchasing or does purchase, I don't know, 3 or 4.
You get a recommendation from them.
Yeah.
Just a staff report.
Yeah, a staff recommendation back to council regarding placement and type of ashtray systems that we could put downtown to eliminate the butts going on the ground. And the other thing, again, is communication and education as well,
Seconded by Councillor
in our
Walsh.
newsletter that we'll get out sometime.
Discussion? Councillor Walsh?
Well, just one comment, which I did make when we were talking about banning smoking downtown, which is, since the province instituted the 3-meter rule, there are no ashtrays available anywhere. And that's part of the issue. I mean, can't speak for all smokers, but most of them are fairly conscientious, and if there was an ashtray available, they would use it. So, you know, it is a nasty litter issue, and certainly very labor intensive. So I'd rather see a few, you know, well hidden ashtrays around, and then staff not have to deal with that labor matter.
Further discussion? Question, all in favor? Motion passed.
Sorry, Your Worship, I can catch you a second on that one.
Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you.
Let me ask another question, since we're having this
Me as
meeting.
well.
You know, hey, we've got lots of time. Can we ask, what is the plan for certain parking stalls downtown that have been designated as, I don't think that we've received this information, that have been designated as handicapped, but may not be in the right location? And also the area in front of the pool here, so whether there's any intention of staff to change some of those lines.
Weren't you going to do a survey after the spring?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Weren't you going to do a survey this spring about the disabled parking?
Yeah, it's a mix between the highways and the city. I mean, a lot of that stuff, like out here, that's highways. That was from their, you know, planners up in Kamloops, that there was not gonna be any parking here, but now, if you look at common sense, tells us that there's lots of room there for parking. So when we meet with the local guys, the local highways guys, we're gonna approach them, you know, on a, you know, right here kind of thing, not taking it to Kamloops just because, you know, trucks go by at 50 and there's only, you know, this many feet and it's not allowed, so I'm hoping we'll be able to convince highways otherwise of that. The handicap stalls, I don't know what to say, they don't work. They're not in the right places. So when the highways, actually, they're coming over next week, we'll have a discussion with them. I'm thinking that the local guys won't care where we put them now the project's done and it's out of the higher planners' hands, that we should be able to make some sort of agreement of changing a few things around.
Yeah, 'cause I think the biggest ones in front of Farrell's are the handicap stall's the second one in, and there's no access
Everybody
to
parks in that stall right next to it, so
Yeah.
it needs to have we don't have any signage down there, you know, and that's the problem, right? So with that other money that was allotted for downtown to finish off a few things, we wanna stick some posts, the bus stops, outside of the sushi place over there. Nobody knows not to park there, cause there's no, you know, it's not yellow, the curb's not yellow, there's no signage indicating, so we have a bit of work to do, to improve things.
Councilor Spear?
Yeah, and as far as the blue goes, like, I like blue, I love blue. Do we have to have that blue, those blue stripes? Like, that's the way it is now, that's
For
the new
handicap?
program?
For the
Yeah,
handicap?
yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yep,
so if you paint it blue like that.
it will be. Yeah, it's just a standard.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor?
Yeah, the other handicap issue, the one by the library doesn't have a ramp,
No.
so that's an issue on that one. And the one that's outside of Prestige, I mean, if you were in a wheelchair and you were trying to get into the Prestige, you've got an incredibly steep ramp, because we have a discussion with Prestige to have a handicap spot down there, and then that place that's currently the handicap up top, you could probably have 3 cars.
I think it's 2 for sure, but maybe 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be really, I mean, some of it's just common sense, so I appreciate the fact that the local guys might be a little more
Yeah,
amenable
you
to
bet.
some changes.
Yeah.
Anything else? Councilor Flynn?
So since you are acting mayor, would you be able to give a quick reply to the email that council received on replacement, and just say that, you know, Darren will be talking to people next
You
week?
could do that,
What we
yeah.
can do?
Yeah.
Quick 2-liner.
I think we need
Yeah,
to
there's-
probably make a motion because there's not just, we're being reported to from staff, but there's been other people with mobility challenges that have spoken to me personally, and I said, well, just wait till it's finished and it'll get squared up, and I kind of feel remiss in not, bringing it forward, and then when we had this other email. So I think maybe I'd like to make a motion that staff report back to council on, persons with disabilities, stalls, and adjustments to those in the community.
I'd like to see those emails, I haven't seen them, if there are issues out there.
No, we've got one,
I'd like to see it.
just one recently, but
Well, Deanie Worsfold phoned me up at home and
Mhm.
just said, you know, she's got to get into the pharmacy and that, and pulls in, and somebody's parked there where the ramp is, and so I think that, out of respect for her and other people with mobility issues, I'd like to make it a formal motion of council,
Mhm.
that we direct staff to provide a report of what we're going to be doing about creating better mobility functionality downtown.
And include signage,
And include
what's
signage,
happening with the
whatever-
signage.
Whatever
Yeah.
staff thinks is important on that.
I'll second that.
second by Councilor Spear. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Maybe the press could make a note that council is gonna be looking into the disability parking issues.
While we're talking on the street, the other issues that we've talked about sort of tangentially were other signage issues that we have, like we have a no idling bylaw, and we have our new dog bylaw stuff. And are there any
Mhm.
plans for any signage to be covering those issues?
Well, anti-idling, I am, no, I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen, I just haven't been involved in that. But the dog ones, we just got the final print, just last week, I think, so it should be up within a couple weeks.
Okay. I'd like to have, because the anti-idling thing has come up a few times, and I thought that was actually being included in some of the signage.
Unless planning's got that, I wasn't aware of it or thinking of it.
Councilor Wallace?
Not saying that it can't be.
Well, in the interest of avoiding having our Main Street covered in don't do this and don't do that signs, I
Mhm.
mean, there needs to be some sort of a comprehensive plan of, you know, putting the information in compact places rather than having a sign every stall, you know, and welcome to Roslyn. The other thing, I've stolen this from another community who will remain nameless, but I like the idea of idling gets you nowhere. It's just a nice way of reminding people to, so. But, yeah,
Where
I
do we
mean,
have that issue though?
Hmm?
Like honestly, in the winter, when you think it's cold and people idle, I really haven't seen anyone just leaving their car idling and going and getting a
Delivery,
coffee.
some of the delivery trucks do.
Yeah, maybe that's a matter of just talking to them,
Mm-hmm.
rather than putting up signs. I mean, I don't think the average citizen in Rossland pulls, even the guys in the big diesels, they're not leaving them running and going in and drinking coffee for half, that I'm aware of. I mean, I just see it, I don't see it.
We've had a few calls
Mhm.
at, you know, at Public Works, but not too many.
Yeah.
You know, people going, you know, this guy constantly does this, so then we will give him a call.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of Rossland way, give them a call, hey,
Yeah,
what are you doing, Jimmy?
yeah. I just, the signposts we're struggling with downtown is because we don't want to clutter up Main Street, having a signpost
I agree.
here, signpost there. Not only is it a maintenance nightmare, so we're trying to find a happy medium.
Okay, great.
And it's, yeah, because there's nothing worse than having a whole whack of signposts downtown. Because our old, if you remember, our old streetscape, we had those street lights, and then we had these round poles that used to have just signs on them.
Mhm.
And eventually they, you know, they fell by the wayside, we got rid of them. It's just getting people trained, and I'm hoping more line, or more striping, or blue paint, yellow paint, stuff like that, you know, and a few signs here and there will help with that issue.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I really don't like the post sign concept very much myself either, and, you know, and I agree with Councillor Wallace that, you know, saying, don't do this, don't do that, you know, circle with the line through it, that symbol, is kind of tacky, actually. So, yeah, the, you know, to educate people, and the idling, you know, bylaw, I think we remind through communication again. I really, the fewer signs with on post downtown, yeah, I'm totally in favor of. Less is better on that.
With that in mind, then we actually need to do the education. We
Yep.
need to send out newsletters,
Yeah,
we
I
need to
agree.
have stuff posted on the website, or
Mhm.
did you know, and, I mean, you can do it, you can communicate things in a nice way. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be all this business.
Oh,
But
no,
a
I
lot
know.
of people don't know.
Thank you for not idling, thank you
Yeah,
for walking your
yeah.
dog on a leash. I mean,
Yes.
there's positive language versus negative language
Yeah,
that
so if
goes a
we're-
lot further.
If we're not gonna put up signs, then we do need to communicate.
Yeah.
We haven't really done a great job of either, right?
Mhm.
You know, so, one or the other.
Mhm.
And probably communication's the better one.
Mhm.
That's right. Any further discussion? Okay, meeting of, committee of the whole. Pardon?
Motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
or are we doing that?
No, not for committee of the whole.
Well, no, this is a recess, isn't it?
No.
No, your worship, this is a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, motion to adjourn. Second by Council Spirit. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Geez, now,
I knew we weren't gonna just take 2 hours.
Can I come back?
It's on, dinner's on its way.
Go have a look at that.
Where's those
yeah,
garbage
can we go,
cans?
can we go, oh yeah, look at the garbage cans. That would be great.
Yeah, that's a rip roaring, exciting time.
Rip-roaring fun.
So, you know, I went back and read that.
Yeah.
And did you, do you think, where is it? I read it this afternoon, and then